The cry in the darkness, the deep space monitoring station, Horizon's Edge drifted silently in the void between stars, its sensors constantly sweeping the cosmos for any sign of alien activity. Captain Alina Vasquez had commanded this isolated outpost for 3 years, watching and listening to the galaxy's whispers, while humanity remained hidden in the shadows of space. The station's mission was simple yet crucial: gather intelligence on alien civilizations while keeping Earth's location and capabilities secret. For 2 centuries, humanity had followed this doctrine of silent observation, building strength while other species remained unaware of their existence. Alina walked through the station's command center, checking on her small crew of specialists. The facility was compact but sophisticated, packed with the most advanced listening equipment humanity had ever built. Every conversation between alien traders, every military transmission, every diplomatic exchange within 300 light-years was captured and analyzed. Lieutenant Commander James Park sat at the primary communications console, his eyes focused on the scrolling data streams. As the station's senior signals analyst, he could identify alien languages and decode encrypted transmissions faster than anyone in the fleet. Today, something had caught his attention. "Captain," James called out, his voice tight with concern, "I'm picking up something unusual. Multiple distress signals coming from the Kepler 442 system." Alina moved to his station and studied the incoming data. The signals were definitely alien in origin, transmitted on frequencies commonly used by the Zalthoni Federation. The Zalthoni were one of the oldest known civilizations in the galaxy, a peaceful species that had existed for over 10,000 years without ever engaging in warfare. "Can you clean up the transmission?" Alina asked. James worked quickly, adjusting filters and boosting signal strength. Slowly, the alien voices became clearer. The universal translator built into their systems began processing the language, converting the desperate alien words into English. The first voice belonged to a Zalthani civilian. "This is transport vessel Golden Dawn requesting immediate assistance. Vorthan warships are attacking our evacuation convoy. They're firing on civilian ships carrying children and elderly. Please, someone help us." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. The Vorthan Collective was known throughout the intelligence community as one of the most aggressive military powers in the galaxy. They conquered species systematically, enslaving useful populations and exterminating those they considered weak. More transmissions flooded in. A planetary defense coordinator reported orbital bombardment of major cities. A hospital ship described being targeted while evacuating wounded civilians. Each message painted a clearer picture of systematic extermination. "How many systems are under attack?" Alina asked. James consulted his tactical display. "At least 12 confirmed, Captain. The signals are getting weaker. The Vorthans are destroying communication arrays as they advance." Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's xenolinguist and cultural specialist, joined them at the communications console. She had spent years studying Zalthani society and understood their peaceful nature better than anyone else in human space. "Captain, the Zalthani have never developed significant military capabilities," Sarah explained. "Their entire civilization is built around art, philosophy, and peaceful trade. They have no chance against a military force like the Vorthens." Alina listened to more of the desperate transmissions, families being separated, children crying for parents who would never return home, entire cities burning under orbital bombardment. The scale of the massacre was staggering. "How long do they have?" Alina asked. James ran calculations through the tactical computer. Based on the rate of system losses reported in these transmissions, the Zalthani Federation will be completely destroyed within 2 weeks. Alina stood quietly for a moment, processing the implications. Somewhere out in the darkness of space, an entire civilization was being wiped out while humanity listened and did nothing. The Zalthani were calling for help from anyone who could hear them, not knowing that humanity possessed the military strength to save them. Sarah, open a priority channel to Earth Command. Full encryption. The transmission took several minutes. To reach Earth, due to their remote location, Admiral Marcus Chen, Supreme Commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet, appeared on the secure holographic display. His weathered face showed the strain of command, but his eyes remained sharp and determined. Captain Vasquez, report. Admiral, we've intercepted massive alien distress signals. The Zalthani Federation is under systematic attack by Vorthan forces. Estimated time to complete extinction is 2 weeks. Admiral Chen was silent for a long moment. Alina could see him weighing the implications of her report. The Zalthani situation presented humanity with its greatest moral dilemma since achieving interstellar travel. Upload all intelligence data to Earth Command immediately, Admiral Chen ordered. I'm calling an emergency session of the Strategic Defense Council. Maintain monitoring and continue gathering intelligence. The connection ended, leaving Alina and her crew alone with the ongoing alien transmissions. Each new message brought reports of more destroyed worlds, more civilian casualties, more systematic extermination of an innocent species. On Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the deepest levels of Global Defense Headquarters, surrounded by humanities. Most senior military and political leaders. The holographic display showed the Zalthani star systems, each one marked with red indicators as Vorthan forces continued their advance. General Maria Torres, head of the Strategic Defense Council, studied the tactical data with professional interest. Admiral, if we intervene, there's no going back. Once we engage the Vorthons, every species in the galaxy will know humanity exists. And if we don't intervene, replied Dr. Robert Sterling, Earth's senior xenobiologist, we'll have to live. With the knowledge that we could have saved 12 billion innocent lives, but chose not to. Admiral Chen had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Humanity had built the most powerful military force in known space while remaining completely hidden from other civilizations. Every ship, every weapon, every tactical system had been designed with one purpose: to project overwhelming force when humanity finally revealed itself to the galaxy. What's our current fleet strength? Admiral Chen asked. General Torres consulted her command tablet. We have 1,200 active warships across all fleets, plus another 400 in various stages of construction. Our shipyards have been operating at maximum capacity for the past 15 years. The numbers represented the culmination of 2 centuries of secret military build-up. While other species focused on trade and diplomacy, humanity had prepared for war. Every ship was equipped with weapons and defenses far superior to anything else in the galaxy. How many ships can we deploy without leaving Earth defenseless? Admiral Chen continued. 800 vessels, sir. That would leave sufficient forces to protect our core systems while maintaining patrol routes throughout human space. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. 800 ships represented more military power than most galactic civilizations possessed in total. But the Vorthans were not a typical enemy. They had conquered dozens of species and controlled vast regions of space. Dr. Sterling raised his hand. Admiral, what about first contact protocols? The Zalthani don't know we exist. How do we approach them? We don't, Admiral Chen replied firmly. First contact will happen after we've eliminated the Vorthan threat. The Zalthani can learn about humanity when they're safe. The room fell silent as the implications of that statement settled in. Humanity was about to announce its existence to the galaxy not through diplomacy or trade, but through the complete destruction of one of the most feared military forces in known space. Colonel Stephen Hayes, commander of the 3rd Battle Group, spoke up from his position near the tactical display. Sir, what are our rules of engagement regarding Vorthan forces? Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Any Vorthan vessel in Zaltanai space is to be considered hostile and eliminated immediately. No warnings, no demands for surrender. They chose to exterminate innocent civilians, so they forfeit any right to mercy from us. The order sent a clear message throughout the room. Humanity was not entering this conflict as reluctant participants. They were coming as executioners. Admiral Chen walked to the holographic display and gestured at the tactical information. Streaming in from Captain Vasquez's monitoring station, look at how the Vorthans fight. Overwhelming numbers, brute force tactics, no sophistication. They've been successful because they've never faced real opposition. He manipulated the display to show detailed scans of Vorthan ships captured by long-range sensors. Their vessels are large and heavily armed, but they're slow and predictable. Their tactics haven't evolved because they've never needed to evolve. They win through sheer weight of numbers and firepower. General Torres studied the enemy ship designs with professional interest. Sir, their technology appears to be several generations behind ours in most critical areas. Their propulsion systems are inefficient, their weapons are energy-based with limited range, and their armor is designed to stop other energy weapons. Exactly, Admiral Chen confirmed. They've never encountered kinetic weapons fired at relativistic speeds. Their shields and armor are useless against solid projectiles traveling at 30% of light speed. Colonel Hayes pulled up humanity's ship specifications on his tablet. Our railguns will punch through their defenses like they don't exist. Our point defense systems will stop their energy weapons completely, and our AI-controlled fighters will overwhelm their manned craft. The discussion continued for hours as humanity's military leaders planned the largest operation in their species' history. Fleet positions were assigned, supply lines were established, and contingency plans were developed for every possible scenario. Back on Horizon's edge, Captain Vasquez continued monitoring the deteriorating situation in Zalthani space. Each new transmission brought worse news. Refugee ships being destroyed while trying to evacuate civilians. Surrender offers being ignored. Entire populations being systematically exterminated. Captain, James called out, I'm receiving a transmission from the Zalthani homeworld. It's their final broadcast. The voice that came through the speakers was that of an elderly Zalthani elder, speaking calmly despite the explosions audible in the background. To any civilizations who might hear this message, we are the Zalthani. We have existed in peace for 10,000 years. We have created art, music, and philosophy. We have explored the stars not as conquerors but as students of the universe. The voice paused as a massive explosion shook the building where the transmission originated. We are dying now, not because we were warriors, but because we chose to be peaceful. Perhaps there are others out there who will remember us. Perhaps there are those with the strength to ensure this never happens to another innocent species. The transmission ended in static. 12 billion Zalthoni were facing extinction, and their final message was not a cry for revenge, but a hope that someone, somewhere, would carry on their legacy. Alina stared at the communications console, her hands clenched into fists. The elderly Zalthani's words echoed in her mind. Someone with the strength to ensure this never happens again. Her console chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. Admiral Chun's image appeared on the screen, his expression grim but determined. Captain Vasquez, Operation Silent Thunder is authorized. Humanity is going to war. Asterisk thunder without warning. The edge of Zalthani space shimmered as reality itself seemed to tear apart. One by one, massive human warships emerged from hyperspace jumps, their sleek hulls materializing out of the darkness like vengeful spirits. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, watching as his fleet assembled in perfect formation. 800 ships, the largest military force humanity had ever deployed. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, built in secret over decades of preparation. Unlike the bulky, intimidating designs favored by other species, human ships were elegant and deadly, their surfaces covered in sensor-absorbing materials that made them nearly invisible to enemy detection. Systems. Fleet Status Report. Admiral Chen commanded. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, his tactical coordinator, consulted her displays. All ships have completed hyperspace transition. Battle groups Alpha through Delta are in position. Strike fighters are armed and ready for launch. All systems showing green across the fleet. The Admiral nodded with satisfaction. Operation Silent Thunder had brought humanity's hidden fleet to the edge of a war zone, but the enemy had no idea they were coming. Vorthan sensors were designed to detect the energy signatures of conventional alien vessels. They had never encountered anything like human stealth technology. Intelligence update, Admiral Chen requested. Commander David Park, Captain Vasquez, brother and the fleet's senior intelligence officer, activated the tactical hologram. Sir, Vorthan forces are concentrated around the remaining Zalthani worlds. They've deployed approximately 400 ships in a standard siege formation. Most of their fleet consists of heavy cruisers and bombardment vessels designed for orbital strikes against planetary targets. The hologram showed Vorthan ships surrounding a blue-green world, their weapons continuously firing at the planet's surface. Each blast represented thousands of innocent lives being extinguished. Estimated Zalthani survivors, Admiral Chen asked quietly. Long-range sensors indicate approximately 200 million across 7 remaining worlds, sir. The survivors are mostly concentrated in underground shelters and remote settlements. 200 million out of 12 billion. The scale of the massacre was almost incomprehensible. Admiral Chen felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Every minute they spent preparing was another minute the Vortans continued their extermination. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez reported. We're receiving the latest intelligence from Horizon's Edge. Captain Vasquez has identified the Vorthon command structure. Their War Master Xylox is coordinating the assault from a massive dreadnought in the primary system. Admiral Chen studied the enemy formation with professional interest. The Vorthans had arranged their fleet in a classic bombardment pattern, with their heaviest ships positioned for optimal planetary targeting. It was an effective formation for destroying helpless civilians, but it left them vulnerable to a coordinated attack from an unexpected direction. They have no idea we're coming, Admiral Chen said with grim satisfaction. Signal all battle groups. Execute Silent Thunder. Across the human fleet, ships began moving with deadly precision. Unlike other species, who announced their intentions with dramatic broadcasts and formal challenges. Humanity preferred a different approach. They would let their actions speak. The first indication the Vorthans had of human presence was when their perimeter scouts simply vanished. One moment, Vorthan patrol ships were monitoring the outer system. The next moment, they were gone, destroyed. So quickly, their crews never had time to send a distress signal. War Master Zelox stood on the command deck of his flagship, Devastator, a massive dreadnought that had participated in the conquest of 17 different species. He was a veteran of countless campaigns, a professional soldier who had spent his entire life perfecting the art of systematic extermination. Status report, Zelox demanded in the harsh Vorthan language. His communications officer looked confused. War Master, we've lost contact with patrol groups 7 through 12. Their transponders have gone silent. Zelox frowned. Equipment malfunction. Unknown, War Master. They were reporting normal status just minutes ago. Before Zelox could respond, his tactical officer called out in alarm. War Master, unknown contacts. Appearing on sensors. Multiple ships emerging from hyperspace. The main display activated, showing the approaching human fleet. Zelox stared in confusion at the sleek, predatory-looking vessels. He had never seen ship designs like these before. They were smaller than traditional warships, but moved with an elegance that spoke of advanced technology. Identify those vessels, Zelox ordered. His intelligence officer worked frantically at his console. War Master, the ship's match, no known. Designs in our database. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our records. Zelox felt the first stirring of unease. In his decades of conquest, he had never encountered a species the Vorthans hadn't already catalogued and studied. The appearance of unknown warships in the middle of a military operation was unprecedented. How many ships? Zelox demanded. Sensors are having difficulty getting accurate counts, War Master. Their holes seem to be deflecting our scanning arrays. Estimated 800 vessels. 800 ships. Zelox's unease turned to alarm. No known species deployed fleets of that size, except for the Vorthans themselves. Where had these mysterious vessels come from? Open a communication channel, Zelox ordered. Demand they identify themselves and state their intentions. The communications officer tried for several minutes before shaking his head. War Master, they're not responding to any of our standard frequencies. Admiral Chen watched the Vorthan fleet scramble to reposition as his ships approached. The enemy was clearly confused by humanity's sudden appearance, but they were professional. Soldiers, they would adapt quickly once the shooting started. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez reported, the Vorthans are attempting to communicate. They're trying multiple frequencies and diplomatic protocols. Ignore them, Admiral Chen replied coldly. Signal all ships. Weapons free, no survivors. The Admiral's order was transmitted across the human fleet in microseconds. 800 ships adjusted their positions and brought their weapons online. Railguns, charged with deadly kinetic projectiles. Point defense systems activated to intercept incoming fire. Fighter squadrons prepared for launch. War Master Zelox realized the unknown fleet was not slowing down. If anything, they were accelerating. Toward his position. Their formation was unlike anything he had seen before, with smaller ships, screening larger vessels in a complex pattern that seemed designed for maximum offensive capability. War Master, his tactical officer reported nervously, the unknown fleet is entering weapons range. Recommend we open fire. Zelox hesitated for a crucial moment. Standard Vorthon doctrine called for demanding surrender before engaging unknown vessels. But these ships had appeared without warning and were ignoring all communication attempts. Their intentions were clearly hostile. All ships open fire, Xylox commanded. Destroy the unknown fleet. 400 Vorthon warships turned their weapons toward the approaching human vessels. Energy beams and plasma bolts lanced across space, creating a brilliant display of destructive power. The Vorthons had perfected these weapons over centuries of conquest, using them to destroy the ships of dozens of peaceful species. Admiral Chen watched the incoming fire with professional detachment. The Vorthon weapons were impressive but predictable. Human point defense systems had been specifically designed to counter energy-based attacks. Point defense active, Captain Rodriguez reported. Intercepting incoming fire. Around each human ship, invisible fields of magnetic force deflected the Vorthon energy weapons, sending the deadly beams harmlessly into space. Centuries of preparation had given humanity perfect defenses against the galaxy's conventional weapons. Return fire, Admiral Chen ordered. The human response was swift and devastating. 800 ships opened fire simultaneously, their railguns launching solid projectiles at 30% of light speed. The kinetic rounds were virtually invisible, too small and fast for Vorthon sensors to track. War Master Xylox watched in horror as his flagship's screens filled with impact warnings. The unknown ships were firing some kind of projectile weapon, but his sensors couldn't detect the incoming rounds until they struck their targets. Shields up, Xylox shouted, but it was too late. The first kinetic rounds struck Vorthon ships with the force of nuclear weapons. Energy shields designed to stop plasma beams were useless against solid matter traveling at relativistic speeds. Armor plating that had withstood the weapons of dozens of conquered species crumpled like paper. In the first 30 seconds of combat, 50 Vorthon ships were destroyed outright. Another 100 suffered critical damage. The mysterious human weapons were cutting through the Vorthon fleet like a blade through smoke. War Master. His tactical officer screamed over the sound of explosions. Our shields are ineffective. Their weapons are penetrating all defenses. Xylox stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was gone or disabled, and the enemy hadn't taken a single casualty. In decades of conquest, he had never faced weapons like these. All ships, emergency retreat, Xylox ordered. Fall back to Rally Point Gamma. But the human fleet was already moving to cut off any escape routes. Captain Rodriguez had anticipated the Vorthon withdrawal and positioned her ships accordingly. The enemy was trapped in a perfect killing field. Admiral Chen watched the Vorthon fleet disintegrate with cold satisfaction. Each destroyed ship represented justice for the innocent Zelthoni civilians who had died under Vorthon bombardment. There would be no mercy, no quarter given. Launch fighters, Admiral Chen commanded. Thousands of small AI-controlled fighters poured out of human carriers, swarming toward the remaining Vorthon ships. Unlike the manned fighters used by other species, human combat drones could execute maneuvers that would kill organic pilots, turning at accelerations that would liquefy flesh and bone. War Master Xylox watched his fleet die around him. The unknown enemy fought with a precision and ruthlessness that exceeded even Vorthon standards. Their tactics were flawless, their weapons were devastatingly effective, and they showed no interest in negotiation or surrender. War Master, his communications officer called out desperately, "Should we try to surrender?" Xylox looked at the tactical display, where red icons representing destroyed Vorthon ships were disappearing faster than he could count. The enemy was systematically annihilating his entire fleet. They had shown no interest in communication, no willingness to accept surrender. "No," Xylox said quietly. "These are not conquerors. They are executioners." The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it was over, the Vorthan invasion fleet had been completely destroyed. 400 ships reduced to expanding clouds of debris and vapor. Not a single human vessel had taken serious damage. Admiral Chen stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display clear of enemy contacts. Around him, his officers worked quietly to assess the results of their first engagement with galactic civilization. "Status report," Admiral Chen requested. Captain Rodriguez consulted her displays with professional satisfaction. "All Vorthon vessels destroyed, sir. No human casualties. Fighter squadrons are conducting search and rescue operations for any Zelthoni survivors in the system." "Signal the fleet," Admiral Chen ordered. "Begin planetary evacuation operations. I want every surviving Zalthani off those worlds within 6 hours." The human fleet moved into orbit around the damaged Zalthani planets with the same precision they had shown in combat. Transport ships descended to the surface, their crews working frantically to evacuate the traumatized survivors of the Vorthon genocide. On the surface of Zelphon Prime, Elder Kethva emerged from an underground shelter where he had spent the last week listening to his civilization die. The old Zalthani's eyes were filled with tears as he saw human soldiers extending helping hands to his people. "Who are you?" Kethva asked in his native language, which the human translation systems immediately converted to English. "Master Sergeant." Maria Santos, leader of the rescue team, looked down at the elderly alien with compassion. "We're humans, sir. We heard your calls for help." Kethva stared at the strange beings who had come from nowhere to save his people. "I have never heard of your species." "That was intentional," Santos replied gently. "We've been watching the galaxy for a long time, waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves." As Zalthani survivors were evacuated to human ships, Admiral Chen prepared his final message. This would be humanity's first official communication with galactic civilization, broadcast on all frequencies to every species. Within 1,000 light-years. This is Admiral Marcus Chen, Supreme Commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, speaking on behalf of humanity. For 2 centuries, we have observed the galaxy in silence. We have watched species rise and fall. We have seen the strong prey upon the weak. We have remained hidden while innocent civilizations were destroyed by those who mistake cruelty for strength. The message was being transmitted across space, reaching alien ears that had never heard of the species called humanity. Today, that silence ends. The Vorthan Collective attempted to exterminate the Zalthani Federation, a peaceful civilization that posed no threat to anyone. This act of genocide has been answered. The Vorthan invasion fleet has been destroyed completely. Admiral Chen paused, allowing his words to sink in across the galaxy. "Let this serve as notice to all species. Humanity will no longer stand by while innocent civilizations are destroyed. We do not seek conquest or domination. We seek only to ensure that no peaceful species suffers the fate intended for the Zalthani. To those who would prey upon the weak, know that humanity is watching. We are armed, and we will respond." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy to contemplate the emergence of a new power. A species that had announced itself not through diplomacy or trade, but through the complete annihilation of one of the most feared military forces in known space. Elder Kethva stood on the observation, deck of a human transport ship, watching his devastated homeworld recede into the distance. Beside him, other Zelthani survivors wept for their lost civilization. "What will happen to us now?" Kethva asked Sergeant Santos. The human soldier looked out at the stars with determination. "You'll rebuild. Humanity will help you find a new home, provide whatever assistance you need. Your people will survive." Kethva nodded slowly. "And the galaxy?" Santos smiled grimly. "The galaxy just learned that humanity doesn't give warnings. We don't make threats. We don't negotiate with monsters. We just act. And that's going to change everything." As the human fleet departed Zelthani space, carrying the last survivors of an ancient civilization to safety, Admiral Chen looked ahead, toward the unknown challenges that awaited. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy as a force for justice, but that revelation would bring consequences no one could predict. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human protection had begun.